Dope stuff, man. We got the legend DJ Pooh in the house today. I'm excited.
Styles. What's good, folks?
It's been a minute, man. It's been a minute.
Man.
But I've
Much
been keeping up with
respect,
you
man.
on your social media, you know.
Absolutely, and the same with you, man. I see you relaunching new things, man, and showing some homage and love to OGs and bringing back some of that '90s flavor and all of that that's very needed. Man, I said let me figure out how to get in where I fit in, man. I don't do interviews, bro, but I do it with you, bro. Again.
All good, man. You know, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring back that old, and we're mixing it with the new. You know, I'm breaking new acts as well. So I'm reaching out to all the young talent there, and then, you know, and the veterans. Not so much if they're legends yet or not, but I got veterans on there, and then then of course the legends. You know, we're just showing love to everybody. Man. You know,
you're doing a healthy blend, man. Healthy blend, good stuff, bro.
So I just wanted to tap in again. It's been a minute since did our all hip hop interview. But there are a lot of things I'd love to cover with you again, and new things I'd like to ask you that I've never asked you before. So let's just get into this. I did an interview with the Egyptian Lover recently, and he told me that Roger Clayton made him do an audition where he had to mix Aretha Franklin's Jump, in order to get into Uncle Jam's army. Did you ever do an audition? Did Roger ever make the audition?
I didn't have to audition, but I would have took that audition over some of the other stuff that I had to do, man. I mean, I had to pass out flyers at every mall, every high school, from Compton, Long Beach, the Valley, you name it. We had to develop posters on Crenshaw, Van Ness, Western, Normandy, Vermont, Figueroa, all the way to the east side, west side to the east side. So, I would love to show some skills, man, but, hey.
Wow, they made you work.
Yeah, man. Raj made me put in some work, man. But I just really wanted to be able to be down with Uncle Jam, man, and just get down with the crew. I was looking up to Raj in Egypt and those cats, man. They opened the doors and paved the way for us, man. So much respect to them cats, man.
Nice. When did you first touch a turntable?
Man, I was 19 years old, man. I just graduated. I got a GED, man, in jail. But I just started getting busy on the turntables, man, and then unfortunately got into a little trouble, man. I had to go sit down for 18 months, man. And then when I got out, it was something that I knew I wanted to pursue and do, and I knew it was something that would keep me busy and keep me out of trouble too. So it was something I was very interested in.
Was it difficult for you to pick up?
It wasn't difficult to pick up. It was something that I just enjoyed. We had a little crew, man. It was me and a couple of homies from my neighborhood, man. And we was watching Uncle Jam do it big, and we were just inspired. So we launched our own crew, man. I hate to even go into it, man, but we was called the FBI crew. Female body inspectors. FBI.
Oh.
female body inspectors.
Female body inspectors, wow.
And we as DJs, right? So we just, we put together little shit we had laying around, man. I had one of Mom's turntables, one of my homies had his Oxy turntable. We went to Radio Shack and put our money together from hustling bottles and bought a realistic mixer, bro. And that's where it started for me, man. We were just mixing it up, in the hood, mixing records and doing our thing. And then, at some point, I started getting opportunities to DJ at my school, at Washington High School. So I would DJ in the quad, DJ at some of the dances and some stuff like that. And so, I come about with Uncle Jam is one time I was DJing at Washington High School. And when Uncle Jam came up there, Roger let me get on the turntables because I was already kind of doing some of my school stuff, so people knew me there. He's like, yeah, I'll let you get a shot. So I get on the turntables, I'm mixing, I'm getting down, everybody, yeah, go on, Pooh, do your thing. Next thing you know, one of the records take off on 45 speed. Just, I was like, what? And I'm looking, what happened? Everybody laughing. And I look to the side, and it's DJ Bobcat. He had his 45 on. And, man, I hated Bob, man, for a long time. for that right there, bro.
Wow. Bob did that?
Bob did that to me, man.
That's hilarious. Now, were you always DJ Pooh, or did you have another name, or what?
No, DJ Pooh, that was it.
That was it? Okay, okay. Because, sometimes I talk to guys, and, like, before they got the name they're known for, they were, like, MC this, or MC Fresh, or I don't know, just something like that.
And I was Little Pooh in the hood, and he's always kept my name, just DJ Pooh, yeah.
Wow, that's dope. So that's dope. So, they let you do your thing. And, I was watching that movie Straight Outta Compton, and I saw the scenes where Dre was, like, living in Sir Jinx's house and stuff like that. Were those the days when you were driving to the studio sessions?
Yeah, man, I would pull up on it because where Jinx lived, Jinx literally lived like 5 blocks down the street from me. We lived basically the same neighborhood, and so I would go down there. Me and Jinx would always just hang out anyway. Me and Jinx used to just hang out and bag and crack jokes, be bagging on this and just having fun, just outside of music. Me and Jinx was just cool, right?
Yeah.
So when Dre, moved in with Jinx and he was over there, then I go over there and Dre would be over there, and then it was just all family. Every time I have to back up and say, it started when I used to just go over to Lonzo's place in Gardena, and Dre was teaching me how to work a drum machine, bro.
Yeah.
And then Easy Mom's garage, where Dre was teaching me how to work a 16 and an 8-track and learning how to work a drum machine, bro. And from there, Dre and I had just always been super cool, man. Dre really showed me the way on how to get out as far as making beats and producing. We were both DJing, but I wasn't producing at the time. I was just doing beats. I was just doing the DJing, and he started making beats, and we were making mixtapes for the Rhodium Swap Meet, Compton Swap Meet, and then we just started getting more into the production.
Wow, that's pretty dope, man. Now, did you ever battle DJ? Like, did you ever take on anybody back in the day?
I did the DNC in 19. Was it? Man, that was I think it was 87 or 88. I did the DNC, and I made it to the finals in the DNC, and at that point I was living in New York at the time. I moved to New York, and I was living in New York, and I went and got in the DNC. I made it to the finals, and then right before I can even go into the final match, we were going on tour, on the Def Jam tour with LL. We had just dropped the Bigger and Deffer album, and we were starting the tour. So I wasn't able to compete. I was supposed to compete against Cash Money in the finals. In one of the final rounds of that DNC. That was the year that Joe Cooley, I guess, lost to Cash Money in the finals. And we were all in that competition that year.
Wow.
But I used to love to do that. I always DJed in competitions. My thing was always showmanship. Loved it. And I used to do shit like a magician, man. I just do little stuff, and I'd be like, how the hell did you do that? So
what about back in the hood? Did you battle anybody?
Absolutely. Me and my buddies and whatnot, growing up, we used to all battle, man. My homie Fat Jack, DJ Jimmy, and DJ Slip. DJ Slip with Compton Most Wanted. He grew up in my neighborhood. We all used to get out, man. Matter of fact, when I was telling you when I was locked up, I was locked up in a place called Barley Flats, right, in the Locking-Yada Mountains. And
wow.
When I was in there, we had a chance to have a co-ed dance. And they didn't have nobody to play the music. And so they was like, I said, I can get a DJ to bring stuff up here, and they was like, well, we can get you some time off. If you give you some real time off if you can get a real DJ up here. I called DJ Slip. He loaded up the truck, Big White, and he drove all the way up the Locking-Yada Mountains to Camp Barley Flats when I was locked up. Nobody could ever say they did nothing like that. And I DJed a co-ed dance when I was locked up with Sybil Brand and Barley Flats, and I got 6 months off my sentence for that. DJ Slip is my dude.
Wow, that's crazy.
I never told nobody that story until right now. DJ Slip will tell you all about it.
I love it. love hearing stories from back in the day like that. It's amazing, and I think that a lot of those things, even though we may not know about it, but they actually play a big part in your story and in your development as a DJ and as a producer.
As a producer, yes.
And hearing stories about how Dre helped you learn things and drum programming and things like that. That's pretty dope, man. And then from there on, when you learned producing, then you started working with, what did you start working with after that point?
When I first started producing, I was making like little mixtapes in the hood and stuff, and we, I'd just be making like little mixtapes, in the neighborhood, and I'll be working with cats from my neighborhood, Deadly Threat, LA Zoo, different cats like that. And we was doing like little mixtapes in the hood. Then I started doing mixtapes for one of the homies named Scotty D. And then Scotty D, that's how I ended up meeting King T, Tila. And then Scotty brought us all together. Me and King T were both DJs. And so we like, well, shit, we wanted to have a little group, but we said, shit, somebody got to get on the mic. I said, well, let's have a DJ battle. Whoever wins the DJ battle, the other person got to get on the mic. And me and King T went at it on the turntables. I got him on the turntables, so he got on the mic. I'm so glad that I won, because that dude is something special, man, on the mic, man. I ain't gonna lie, he has such a unique voice. It just panned out perfect. That was the
Imagine
first
if he had won,
that I ended up producing.
Imagine if he had won and you had become the MC and he was a DJ. I mean, he gave us so much special music.
I gotta say, I have to say, we would have been whack.
Wow, that's amazing how life works that way. But that's dope. I mean, he ended up becoming MC legend, and he ended up becoming, the producing legend. So, it all worked out right.
Not many people know it, man, but he's just as good of a DJ and a producer, man. He's very talented, man.
Wow. So did you come up with the LA Zoo?
The LA Zoo? No. The LA Zoo was initially a crew that was developed by Deadly Threat.
Okay,
and it
so
was
that
just like the guy from my neighborhood, Deadly Threat. And the LA Zoo tribe was the crew that Deadly Threat put together all together. That was the whole crew.
Nice. And, I'll just tell this story. I mean, when I first learned about you, I was at work one day, and I used to work with this cat named Enrique, and he came to work one day with a tape, with a cassette, and he was like, hey, man, I sold a pit bull to this DJ producer, and he gave me this cassette of his. Why don't you check it out? Because he knew I loved rap and hip-hop, because I'd always come in and play music and stuff like that. But apparently, he sold you a pit bull dog.
Oh, a red nose, huh?
He sold you a pit bull, and you gave him your cassette, and on that cassette was Nowhere to Hide.
That was a red-nosed pit bull I bought. I remember that dude. I didn't know that his name was Enrique. So that's crazy, man. It's a small
and that was
world.
my coworker. We worked in the customer service department, and he brought me this tape, and he was like, check it out, this dude. And I saw the big droopy eyes on it and everything, and I was like, all right, let me check this out. Popped it in, and boom, 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 boom. I was like, oh,
run
shit.
Like snot.
I was like, this is fine, man. I go, this dude gave me this tape, and he was like, yeah, man.
I bought that pit bull as a red nose. I remember when I bought that dog, and then I took that dog up to Lock High. I used to DJ all the little talent shows at Lock High, and I took the dog with me up to Lock High to do one of the talent shows. And guess who won the talent show and tried to steal my dog that year?
Who?
Tyrese Gibson.
You tried to steal your dog?
Yeah, man, he loved that dog. When I came up to the school, he was like, man, just let me take it home, man. He just fell in love with that dog.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, so that's how I first found out about you, man. And then from then on, I was like, all right, I got to keep my eye out for this dude. I mean, I wasn't a journalist at this point. I was just a fan, just a fan of music. And, I'd always take my ass to Tower Records and buy all the new stuff coming out, and so, just learning about new music was my whole thing, And so, yes, so I had your
vibe,
tape.
Man. Yeah.
I had your tape, and I'd play it when I get home and bump it. And who's that, man? I go, this guy's dope, and then also that beat. I was like, whoa, this is a. So tell me the thinking of that song, please.
That song was something that was inspired by Agony of Defeat by Parliament Funkadelic and the OG George Clinton. Much respect, all the respect and love in the world. A lot of inspiration in my music comes from funk. So, of course, you have to throw, Funkadelic at the very, very top. And, man, that was the Agony of Defeat is sort of the concept behind that, but just flipped in a whole different way. So if you listen to I'm going to take my shoes off, it's Agony of Defeat. It's sort of the vibe, but not. But it was low riding music, man. The stuff I used to jump in the car with my brother and low riding and listening to, and I was young, man, and it just stayed with me, and that just became a part of everything I did. Records that I did, like doing dumb shit for Ice Cube, that took back the Funkadelic vibe and stuff I did with L, Funky Homo Sapien, and Snoop, and just all the different people. Always here and there had to pull out a funk joint for sure. That was the foundation.
And you put Threat in the Booth for that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's dope, man. So now I found out, that I heard that song, and then I had to kind of like go back in history, and then that's when I learned about King T and the stuff you guys did together. You guys did Payback song, the James Brown sample, and flipped it. And that song became big out in New York.
That was the first time I had a record played in New York. My very first produced record I did, King T. And they would play, when I went to New York, I took a couple of boxes of the record with me. I got them from DJ Unknown, Techno Hop, grabbed a few boxes, jumped on a plane, and when I went to New York, I just wanted to stay out of trouble. I didn't want to go back to jail. I grabbed some records and I headed to New York and to stay with my cousin, Cliff Love, who was a dancer for Houdini at the time. So, I that's why I got an opportunity to be able to go and take my tape up to Def Jam and stuff like that, and was like kind of in the mix in New York and kind of getting the chance to be around folks and stuff like that. But yeah, man, that was it. Was like just really doing shit, in New York for King T at an early age. After Payback the Mother, the Act a Fool album, half of it was produced in New York, because the vibes on the album, you could even hear some of the New York vibe on that West Coast album, Act a Fool, if you listen.
And, it's funny because I actually heard that song from a New Yorker, a guy from New York who had moved out here to California. And, we were both hip hop fans. And, I first heard him play Payback, and I was like, whoa. I go, who's it? And then he told me who it was, a dude from Compton. I was like, oh shit, I should be knowing about this, I'm a Valley guy.
They wouldn't play no West Coast cats at the time. They was not respecting West Coast rap. They was like, that shit's corny and blah, 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 blah. And they wouldn't really respect it. So that was like, I was excited to be like one of the first people getting a West Coast record played in New York. But I got to be honest, they was only playing the instrumental when they would not turn the record over, man. And then one day somebody turned, I think Red Alert is the guy that turned the record over, man. And from there, the people was like, oh man, dude, it's kind of nice and everything like that. And so King T started to build an East Coast fan base, and people started to feel him on the East Coast. Even cast including Biggie, who said he was even inspired by King T, which you could hear it in his style, And that to me, when I heard those words come out of Biggie's mouth, I just said, wow, because East Coast rappers had no respect for West Coast rappers back in that time.
Yeah, but I was racking my brain trying to find a song that flipped the James Brown sample before your record, and I think yours is the first one.
No, I was the first one to flip James Brown, Payback the Mother. Nobody did for King T's Payback the Mother. I flipped the Payback first.
Yeah, because I was trying to rack my brain, it was sampled before. I guess, like, dude, this is the first sample of it. You know,
That was the first
that's
sample of Payback, the big Payback, James Brown.
And since then, it's been sampled hundreds and thousands of times.
Yeah, I love when I'm the first person to bring something to the table sample-wise, because it kind of speaks for your crate digging, technique.
Yeah.
Your crate digging, whole flow, man. You get it from being at Tower and the downstairs records, all these different places where you can dig for hours, man. And so that was an easy one because that's just Payback to Mother. But other records that I broke and stuff that I even created like during doing St. Ives commercials and shit. Like I sampled a track, became an EPMD track. John Singleton heard the track. He said, "I love that. Let me put that as an instrumental part in Boys in the Hood." I said, "Sure." He threw it right up under the scene right there when they racked the gun on Cuba Gooding and you hear the beat to Bird in the Hand, Ice Cube. That's the first time Ice Cube heard that beat. Then Cube said, "Shit, Pooh, what was that beat in Boys in the Hood?" I said, "That's the same beat I used for EPMD St. Ives commercial that's in Boys in the Hood. Man, I want to make a record." And that's how it became Boys in the Hood. And it was a B.B. King sample, you know what I'm saying? Those chains and things. And then from there, look, it became even a sample in a record with G Unit and those guys, the Mechanic. It became sampling Kendrick Lamar, Mad City with him and MCA. It's like, but it started as a little sample in a St. Ives commercial. Nobody knew about that. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Wow. Let's talk a little bit about. Let's go a little bit further back. You were a part of the production crew that produced LL's second album, Bigger and Deffer. You were with Bobcat, Muffler, Big Dad, the LA Posse, man. The LA Posse is such an untold story. I had a chance to sit down with Muffler one day, and he gave me a lot of back history on that, but it's still an unknown story, even to a lot of West Coast people.
It is, man, and I think it's kind of an unknown story because it didn't, serve the overall, kind of East Coast, narrative. You know what I'm saying? It didn't fit the East Coast narrative, and the West Coast had not really gotten their legs under it, the hip hop legs under it yet. I think it kind of got lost in the shuffle, and then at the same time, it's not, it's not been, as you said, documented in ways. It hasn't been a real good documentary that really breaks out and says, "Hey, man, this is where to start." This is where it started in terms of East Coast and West Coast collaborations. West Coast cats being able to step outside of the West Coast and in hip hop and stuff like that. And at the time, Def Jam was still a real young label. This took Def Jam to the next level. Def Jam wasn't at that next level. This was part of that journey for Def Jam. Whether they admit it or not. And I tell Russell's ass every time I see him. I give him a hard time. And, because that was something I felt like broke doors down for Def Jam at the time.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that, LL's first album came out radio, and that was, it's a classic. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna, it's a classic, but Bigger and Deffer gave him a different sound. It gave him versatility.
It's funny because I saw an article today where someone, not an article, but a post from LL had posted. He's like, "Why is everybody declaring me the first big real hip hop pop artist? Like, where am I getting the pop title from?"
Yeah.
And he so I guess he wasn't understanding it because LL is a real hardcore true MC, as anybody in the hip hop business will tell you. So then when the words pop come into play with LL, it's something that I'm he's like, "Oh, well, wait a minute, where's that coming from?" But I do understand it in terms of the fact that when we dropped that album that has tracks on like Doo Wop and I Need Love and stuff, his poster was on every girl's wall in America, every young girl's wall in America. He was the most popular artist in the business. So from a popular standpoint, as in pop, I get that term, but don't ever think he was pop in terms of like, you know what I'm saying? In
like,
terms of not coming with the real heat.
Yeah. But I mean, but that album gave him such a diverse sound, beat wise even, you know what I mean, like with the whole I'm Bad and sampling, the Thundercats for that and
yeah. That was Bobcat. That was Bobcat, man. DJ Bobcat.
But the LA Posse, man, I mean, wow. I'm surprised that I know you guys dropped that stuff for Breeze, but I'm surprised you guys didn't do more stuff for other artists,
Well, man, as I said, I went to New York just to get my ass out of L.A. and stay out of trouble. Mm-hmm. And I did not know them guys was even in New York. I didn't really know what was going on. I just went up to Def Jam to go and play some beats I had on a cassette. I took a drum machine Dre let me borrow, and I went to New York. Like when you hear him on the NWA record, where the drum machine at? Oh shit, I left the motherfucker with Pooh. That was like real shit. I had the drum machine. I was in New York. I made a beat tape, and so I went with my cousin Cliff Love up to Def Jam to let Russell hear some of my beats and stuff, man. And I remember him like then. I had a Sony Walkman with some little spongy orange little headphones, and I was waiting like at the old Def Jam, and I was waiting on the side of like a little brownstone wall, like by the steps. I was waiting on Russell to come up, and I saw him walking down to the office. And I remember I jumped like some weird ass nigga, like, "Hey man, you gotta listen to my beats." I was just so happy to see him. And he was like, "Whoa, nah, man, you know what I'm saying? It don't work like that." And I was like, "Oh man, come on, bro. I came all the way from LA," and he's like, "LA, huh?" And so he's like, "All right, man, come on in my office, man. Come on in. I listen to it." And I was just shocked, man. And I put my beats in, and he liked what I was doing. He's like, "Oh man, some other cats out here from LA too, LA Posse, you ain't hip." I said, "Nah." And he said, "Yeah, you don't know, DJ Bobcat?" And you remember I told you I didn't like that nigga. So I was like, "Oh, this nigga, man." So then they came up to Def Jam that same day, and I ran into Bobcat and them. But when we realized we the only LA niggas out here, that's when I realized, shit, I can't afford to not like this dude. So me and Bobcat became brothers, man, from that day forward, man. From that day forward.
Did he ever apologize for the 45 incident?
Nah, he never apologized for throwing on 45, but he loved telling that story, bro. I ain't gonna lie. He's like, "Man, you should have seen your eyes, Pooh. I ain't never seen no eyes that big." He loved telling that story, man. I ain't gonna lie.
So, but like I said, it kind of like it stopped with LL though. The whole LA Posse movement.
Yeah. Well, we initially. After I found out them cats were out there, we all got together. Of course, it was like, man, you got to be part of the LA Posse, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we all became one crew because initially it was just Bob, Gerald, Dwayne, and so then when I joined, we were working on Breeze's album at the time under Def Jam, and then at the time, LL was set to work on a new album, and they were trying to find a sound for him. And they were like some of the stuff we were doing for Breeze already on Def Jam. And so we ended up, Russell put us together with LL, and that's where it started. We started working on the bigger and deafer album. And then a lot of that was taking away a lot of energy from the Breeze project, which I felt was kind of, unfair at the time, but it's kind of the way things work. LL was the biggest artist in the game and on Def Jam, you know what I'm saying? Run DMC were on Profile. They were just managed by Rush. So, LL was it. So eventually, that's where Breeze ended up going over to Atlantic and the whole thing, and the LA Posse followed and went and made that deal. And when our whole Def Jam deal I left before the Def Jam deal ended, to be honest. I was in New York for 3 years, and then my first daughter was about to be born. That's when I moved back to LA. I just said, I'm going to get back to LA. And then I moved back to LA at the time. And then they went and took a deal at Atlantic with Sylvia Rome. And then that's how Breeze's album came out over there. They still had like a bunch of the stuff that we were working on in New York and stuff under Def Jam. But they were able to also buy back keep a lot of that music and stuff too, and make it part of their Young Son album.
Yeah. I just wish that you guys could have stayed together a little longer and been like a collective that produced for a whole bunch of artists, kind of like the Bomb Squad did a little bit, you
We
know.
would have been unstoppable, man. Yes, man. We were fans and still are the Bomb Squad, man. Back then, that's where I met Hank and keeping them cats up at Def Jam, man, and a lot of the old school cats at Def Jam, man. You know, we got a chance to get our, you know, when I moved to New York, I saw Crush Groove when it came out in the theaters, bro. Like it was that long ago. So, you know, I really got a chance to live some of that, the original first sort of push, of wave of hip hop, if you will, in New York.
Mhm. Wow, that's dope. So you did some production from King T. You went on the Ice Cube. The Boogeyman is another collective. I'm like, gosh, you know, you were part of some really dope ass collectives that did some amazing music.
Well, when I got back from New York, Cube had split with NWA, and then Cube and I were cool and stuff. And then Cube reached out and was like, man, I'm working on my next album. You know, I'd love for you to work on the album with me. And so, of course, I said, let's go. And he, and so we started the Death Certificate album. And in the process of that album, man, it was me and, Cube and Sir Jinx for the most part started. Jinx started the album, then Cube brought me in to kind of executive over the album with the producers. And then I put together at that time a crew called the Boogeyman that existed of me, Rashad Coles, and I brought in Hotcat also because the whole El Posse thing kind of was ending at that time. So he came back to LA too. And then I pulled him in with me also. And then we all got together and co-produced that album. But Jinx was the first producer to the table. I want to give it to Jinx. Like I went through and worked on some of the Jinx stuff that Cube wanted me to work on with that and stuff too. But Jinx already kind of even had a direction of sound with Cube when I came to the project to produce it with Cube. And I just don't think he get a lot of his props for that. And I just love Jinx so much. Every chance I get, I'm gonna make sure, that I tell the truth.
Sure. And so you, Bobcat, and Rashad basically just put your finishing touches on it, basically.
No. Jinx had about 3 songs or something started into the rest of the songs we did. Okay. We did the whole album, but Jinx had the song already kind of going a certain direction, and Jinx had he had a few of the songs already that he was working on. And then there were songs I also worked on with Jinx, like No Vaseline. Jinx did the foundation of that, and then Cube said, hey, Pooh, can you come and help me finish this out on stuff like that? So it wasn't mine, but then, stuff that I produced, from the Giddy Up was also, we produced a big part of that album too, from, Nappy Dugout to freaking, you name it. I mean, Bird in the Hand, as I just mentioned, doing dumb shit. A lot of that album was what came about after the fact, after Cube had brought me on. But it did have sound in a direction with, and Cube knew what he wanted to do. Cube amazingly has a vision like not a lot of people I've ever worked with. And that's why I had to give it to Cube. And two of the biggest things I ever did in my career were things that I've done along with Cube, which was the Friday franchise, and the biggest record I've ever did was Today Was a Good Day.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a second, but I want to circle back to Nappy Dugout. That song, man, it's such a trip. I still listen to that song, and it makes you crack up every time. Giving up to that, that whole song was put together. That beat is funky, it's that head knocking.
That track originated with me and King T working on it. We used to have a shared place together. We did that track actually together at our place, and then it became one of the Boogeyman tracks ultimately all together. But that's where the Nappy Dugout track started out at, and everything, man. I mean, when you look at Steady Mobbing and shit, like, you know what I'm saying? That kind of shit, man. Just being able to produce at the time stuff that had that magnitude of samples and not have to stress too much was just amazing. I'm scratching Rodney Dangerfield. There goes the neighborhood. Come on now.
Wow.
Those were the days.
Wow. You did Steady Mobbin'?
Yeah.
Nice. So you use the average.
That's even my voice on there. Steady
Mobbin'. The average white band sample, that I believe.
Yep, that's one of them under there. Yeah, that's one of them in there.
Yeah. That's, wow. That's dope, brother.
Steady Mobbin'.
Steady Mobbin'. So, you're doing all this stuff with Ice Cube, and you get tapped because you Snoop Dogg stepped in the album after Dr. Dre left. Did you feel that pressure of having to feel those giant shoes? Because, the fans were like, their expectations were so high for that album,
I knew that would be the case. I knew that wasn't something that I would allow myself to play into too much because, to be honest, as I told you from the beginning, I learned from Dre, and learned a lot under Dre, and Dre and I learned a lot together. And one thing I learned for Dre is a lot of respect, right? Mm-hmm. And so filling Dre's shoes was never my plan. Mm-hmm. But for me to be able to do what I do and who I am with Snoop, with Snoop and Superfly and Daz, and because I wasn't the only producer on that album, just like Dre's wasn't the only producer. Dre also worked on with Superfly, Warren G, all these other great producers, great West Coast, great producers overall. And so that's the same opportunity that I had, is to work with some of these incredible producers too. And then to overall be able to sequence the album and put it together with Snoop and kind of oversee it in that way. And so I was just honored and had a good time doing it. And then at the same time, we did it under a lot of stress because Snoop, if you remember, at the time was on trial for murder. Sure. And they even wanted to hear some of his album. They were using his words against him in his murder trial, where he could have potentially faced the death penalty or life in prison. And so that had a big effect on Snoop and myself, because I love Snoop. And so it was incredibly stressful working on that album. And he was on trial the entire time of making the album. Yeah. He'd be in court during the day and we'd be in the studio at night. And he didn't know if he was gonna get off or not. And it was I just have to paint that picture not as an excuse, but as a badge of honor. Like we really got through that, and I'm happy with ultimately what we did, which is not what Dr. Dre would ever do, because Dr. Dre would do what Dr. Dre would do.
Sure. Well, I was on Twitter the other day, and my man Glass and Malone was talking about the album. And he was like, man, I was listening to that album again. He's like, that album does not get the respect it deserves. And I agree with him because I love that album. And, and I've been in debates with people and stuff like that where they're talking like, Doggy Style and Dogfather and, Contagion 2. And I'm like, man, let me tell you, Dogfather's got some jams on there. You listen to Jump the Boogie.
It's his own thing, yeah. Woo! It's his own thing, man. And it has some growth in it. And that was part of what I was sharing with you, is like songs like Up Jump the Boogie was a song that Snoop felt like he needed to put out there for the young homies that was getting put up to shit and set up by older homies in their lives, being fucked up, developing criminal records and all this shit just because they looking up to some big homie that really ain't got no love for them. And Snoop felt passionate while he was on, in that situation he was, to share that knowledge that he had and that he had in his heart to share with the young Baby G. So that's where that song came from, was the moment in his life that he was dealing with. And
just even from a beat standpoint, that song bumps,
Oh, thanks, man. I loved working on that track, man, and having Roger Troutman, rest in peace, in the studio on that album with me, and having that was us bringing Charlie Wilson back into the scene on that album, and it was a good time, man. It was a good time. I really, really, really appreciated the opportunity to work on that album with Snoop.
Yeah, well, I just think that more fans should revisit it, because I guarantee you, if they play it, again, they might have a second opinion about it in terms of where it stands on songs.
Like the album. I know it's me speaking, but I still like the album. And the album has its own lane. It's definitely not a Dre-sounding album or a Dre album, but I love that album, man. It's a really, really, really dope album.
Correct. All right, let's move on.
I think if anybody tried to step into Dre's shoes, they would have failed miserably. And I don't think that's what we did at all. I think the album really did well sales-wise. It really found a niche which people either loved it or people wanted to hate on it because it wasn't what Dre would do.
Yeah. But I mean,
in my opinion.
It brought so many new things to the table. Trainee was brought to the table. That's where I first heard him was on that album. So I mean, it had it had its own identity and its own sound.
Oh, man, come on, we had a good time.
And it bumped. There's a lot of bumpers on there. So, like I said, I think more people need to revisit that album and give it, some more spins and some more listens.
I would agree with you, man. I say, man, I got to give a whole bunch of love to Daz and Superfly and Warren and these other guys that always have a hand in the crew. If not just putting it down all the way with amazing stuff that they're doing on their own, everybody being able to collab together, man. So, I don't want to ever make it seem like I'm doing more than what I'm doing.
Sure.
but we all click together. Yeah.
I get that. Today was a good day. You mentioned that's your biggest song, and it's entered pop culture. I was watching that video not too long ago of LeBron singing it in the car with the Ice Cube, and I forget that gentleman's name, that English guy who does the show, but it's a song
car karaoke or whatever.
Yeah, the car karaoke. Yeah, but that just shows that it's a song that America knows word for word. I mean, and by America, I mean I'm talking like white people, black people, Mexicans, Asians. That they could sing along word for word. And so tell me about the making of that song, please.
That was probably the easiest song for me to ever make, because I basically just looped, the Isley Brothers, and had a sweet sticky thing under that, and a few other things kind of going on in the song. But for the most part, the procedure was pretty funny. It was probably, I recall it was like probably 9-10 o'clock in the morning. I get a call and it's Q, and he's like, man, I got this idea that I really need to do, man. I got the record and everything. I just need you to come and, hook it up for me, man. You got time to go in the studio? I'm like, yeah, let's go. And so we used to live right down the street from each other and shit. So, all right, cool. We pull up on the studio, and he got the Isley Brothers record in his hand. I'm like, what the hell? What we gonna do? And then when he showed up, I was like, oh man, I always thought this was dope. So I just put it together. Cube in the studio, he spit on it, did his thing, and that was that. It was just something he had. All the verses wrote, had the record under his arm. He knew what he wanted.
Wow. Wow. Did he ever try to get a co-production credit?
No, he didn't. I mean, he didn't, man. That's the thing about the way we work in certain things, man. Sometimes I may have a little line or something I might throw out. You know what I'm saying? I don't want a writer's credit. You know what I'm saying? I just hope the shit make the cut. You know what I'm saying? Like when we, now when you went on and put in, work and do a great proportion of something, that's only right. But we try not to hit each other over the head. So every time we open our mouths around each other.
Yeah, I get that. That's good. Wow. Um, from there, let's talk about Bad News Travels Fast. Love that album.
Thanks, man.
I love that album, man. I was listening to it this morning before I even got on the phone with you, just so I could get that vibe again, you know. And so there's a couple of songs I'd like to talk about from there. My favorite track off the album is the one with Cam, where he's really expressing himself, and you don't know.
No idea.
Yeah, you have no idea what I'm going through.
That's my favorite song I've ever produced.
Really?
Yeah, my favorite song I've ever produced, because I produced it I produced it for the community, for the people in my community, the black and brown people in my community. I knew that was something that needed to be said, and so Cam came about after I had already produced the track, and then I said, you know what, I'm loving this vibe. I had sampled KRS-One beatboxing, boom, and I was like, I'm gonna build the track off of this. So I, added all this stuff. Rashad Coast from the Boogeyman came in and got down with me. You know what I'm saying? And then we went in there and started singing the hook. You have no idea, And then next thing I said, you know what? I hear this as kind of like along the lines of Computer Love kind of style, but more not that kind of happier vibe, more meaningful, but with that kind of cast. So I reached out to Roger Troutman. Brought in Roger. I brought in Shirley Murdoch. I brought in Charlie Wilson. That's everybody that was on Computer Love. We wrote the rest of what they put into the song, and it had 2 verses cut out for someone to come in and bust on it. And I just said, I don't know nobody that can tell the truth and speak on some real shit like that besides my brother Cam. So that's how that song came about.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what's really cool about that song was, especially with gangster rap at the time, everything was just so braggy and so, I got your girl, I make this kind of money, I got this car, and this was just more like the opposite end of that. You know what I mean? It was like my mental health, my this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this one was not got your bitch, nigga. This one wasn't that one. This one was, like, hold up, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Let's talk about, my mental state, which is something that I think now people are even just starting to pay a little bit more attention to, is our
Correct.
mental health. It's not something we pay a lot of attention to because we have to be so badass, macho, we got to be the nigga and all this and that. Don't be no fuck nigga and everything else, that you're not taking care of your mental health and your, you know what I'm saying, your sanity ought to come first before everything else. And a lot of times we put that way back in our mind and just put the big chest up first and want to show strength by posting instead of showing strength by opening up and healing and dealing with some of the demons and shit that we need to.
Yeah. But you were on that vibe though, way back then. You know what I mean? That's really just is a testament to your guys' foresight. You know what I mean? So
well, that wave I think of hip hop and that golden era, like that wave of hip hop was the generation that I felt understood art as something that reflects the times. I just think art should reflect the times always. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It should. Not every single thing that you do, but for the most part, your art should reflect the times.
Yeah, but that was a dope album. I mean, and you had there's a lot of good cuts on there. Even the title track by Boy T. Lee. He got to really shine on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I love T. Lee, man. T came and did that on that track. I love his voice so much. He got such a distinctive voice, so different from everybody else in the Zoo tribe. You know what I'm saying? But T. Lee did his thing. He got a soul in the way he just spit, man.
Yeah. He did his thing on that.
Thread is my favorite. Thread is one of my favorite rappers of all time.
Yeah,
not just because we're from the same neighborhood, but because he's just one of the best rappers of all time, especially in the lane that we speak, that Thread is in. terms of West Coast. I just feel like he had a way of being able to speak about things without trying to, over glorify bullshit or try to be putting too much, putting the 10 on the 2 or trying to, make himself to be all this and that, but just speaking from a representation standpoint, it really came from his heart, and it was really who he was. And just like he said in his raps, you bet that I can bring it just the way I sing it. That's just what it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was out there just trying to be a fucked up person. He was trying to just, basically lay out what it was and say, you better be paying attention. You know what I'm saying? Well, you better be paying attention and hold yours. You know what I'm saying? And I really respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
He really is such a good dude. I had the
chance. I feel he's way underrated, MC-wise.
Very.
Just way underrated.
Oh, very.
Yeah.
Very. He did not get his just due. And I had a chance to work with him and the crew. I got to Culver City all the time where they had that house where everybody stayed at.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was dope. I mean, I got a chance to work with the guys and bring out some of the music that they were doing and working with Rhett and all them. And they were like, man, manage us, Styles, manage us. And, and I thought about it, and I tried it for a week. And after dealing with 10 different cats, I was like, I don't think it's going to work out, guys.
Especially the zoo, man. I remember the first time I got him a show, man, up at the House of Blues. Up at the Casa, Mina Real. And they got up there, man, and I think it was like Open Up for King T or something like that. And them cats, stay up there spitting their little part with Threat and all that. Got to the end of the song, and niggas slammed the mics down, broke the mics. I had to pay for them motherfuckers. I was like, man, let me tell you niggas something. I said, the first lesson y'all gonna learn is if you break it, you gonna pay for it, man. But it was when they was in the moment, boy, it was like, man, they was feeling it, man. You guys gotta love it.
We had a show at the Troubadour, and them dudes brought bottles of alcohol onto the stage and was pouring it out to the crowd, and the people in the crowds. Boy, they pissed off the bar that day. It was so bad.
Oh wow!
I mean, yeah, because the bar was like, "You're giving away they should come to us." That's the whole point is for them to come here and buy drinks, and you guys are
right. You stepping on our toes now,
I was like, yeah. I decided like after a week, I was like, well, let's just be homies, and I'll just help you guys push your music. But I was like, as far as managing, I was like, I don't know if that's going to work, guys. But you guys did the song off the Friday soundtrack, and you were talking about it the other day on your Twitter feed, the one that Threat did. Ooh, that's a heater. That's man.
That was a track. That was the track that I did. Rashad Coles actually got on there with me too. But that track, man, was real fun, man. Just to be able to do something real stupid, like take all these sounds from the animal kingdom and turn them into a track. I got elephants as the horns. I got rattlesnakes as shakers. I got monkeys, birds, everything in the track. And people don't really notice that because the way it was placed and the way it was designed. But then after you know that, and then you go back and listen, then you go, holy crap, oh shit, wow. And I thought so I pulled it off. It wasn't to make sure that you felt it was like some corny thing with animals everywhere, but it was tuned and placed in a way to represent that LA Zoo tribe and then all these different African, animal kingdom, all in a track like that. So when you get a chance, listen closely now, and then you'll go, holy crap.
Oh, I got to hear that again, man. But I felt that was a track that should have blown him up,
Yeah, I feel like at that time when that soundtrack dropped, it was so many cats that was just still just beating the door down in LA too. And there was so many options there too, man, that it was just another dope song on the soundtrack. Because that soundtrack, when you just look at that EA Ski and you know, saying Q, Cyber. I mean, that soundtrack was packed. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep their heads ringing. It's kind of
it was crazy.
That.
Yeah, man. It's like you know, he's sucking all the air out the room right there, man, with all those big songs, man.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Let's go back to Bad News Travels Fast, because you know you had a song on there with Kim. You know, he was dissing Ice Cube, and Tony G produced that track. From what I understand. But that was your partner, you know, Ice Cube. Did that really create problems between you two?
I would say it did and it didn't. You know, first off, as you mentioned, it's something that I didn't produce the song, but I did put the song on my album. And number one, because Cam was part of my crew. You know, me, Cam, Solo, Whitetail had our own crew. And that's kind of what we were doing. And then me and Cube had kind of fallen out a little bit and gone our separate ways after the original Friday. And so I figured, you know, sure, I'll put it out. But I never felt like I hated Ice Cube or was that mad at him. I didn't really speak much about, you know, what our issue was or wasn't about Friday. You know, people made up a lot of shit, but, you know, you know, but I kept the dirty laundry in the dirt and the dirty clothes. And at some point, you know, I knew that me and Cube would come together. I love Cube. I got a tremendous amount of respect for him and his family. I've known, you know, Cube forever. You know what I'm saying? His sons when they were babies. You know, his wife. You know, since, you know, we were almost teenagers. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for them. So even though we may have had our differences, I was never to a point where I truly had any real disliking for Ice Cube. It's hard to really dislike Ice Cube. I don't give a fuck if the nigga voted for Trump, even though that ain't what he did. But a lot of motherfuckers got mad at him just because he said, hey, let's make one side listen. You know, maybe he'll make the other side listen a little bit more. I'm never against an idea like that. And the next thing you know, motherfuckers ready to burn a nigga at the stake. I say, you know, no matter what, you can't be that mad. Nobody can be that mad at Ice Cube. I mean, he got black dollars in the bank with me all day long. He stuck up for black people when nobody else, you know, thought it was in style. I mean, we took a lot of heat on that Death Certificate album for all the one real devil, this, that, the other. We took a lot of fucking heat, man. And Q took a lot of heat and stayed down and did his thing, man. A lot of people forget about that, and they shouldn't.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys could put an album like that out today, you know, especially, you know, well, with you guys they're calling it like anti-Asian and, you know, because what was it, Little Korea or something like the Black Korea. Yeah, you know, so, you know, I mean, he took a lot of heat for that album, you know.
It was a song, it was an album that needed to be done, and it served the times well. And it helped, I think, move the culture forward. And I'm proud to have been a part of that album. I'm not ashamed of it. And no kind of way, even though it's not something you could do today, it's not as necessary today. Well, that means we did a good job.
Yeah. Let's talk about Friday. I don't want to touch on revisit the problems between you and Cuba or whatever, you know, had after that, you know, but you guys must have had a blast making it, you know. Writing it, coming up with the idea, the concepts, the characters.
We always had a bunch of fun, man. All the way back from doing fucking Who's the Mac videos and shit. When he called me up and I was like, hey man, why don't you come get in this video I'm doing tomorrow? And I'm like, oh shit, tomorrow? He's like, yeah, I'm shooting a video for this song Who's the Mac off my EP. I'm like, all right, well cool shit. He's like, what size you wear? And I give him my size. I'm like, oh, they gonna hook a nigga up. I get up there and they got wigs and platform boots and all that. What the fuck? Wow. And he's like, oh man, won't you go out and play the back, man? Ain't nobody fun as you, because me and Q be sitting around always just, you know, from back in the days when we was doing Street Knowledge, when we were doing Florence and Crenshaw, and we had the studio in the basement, Street Knowledge. We just be bagging and me, him, and Jinx and having fun and shit. And we always just love to have fun anyway too, and that's. That's where the concept of Friday came from, is initially, you know, of saying shit. Motherfuckers in the hood laugh too. We enjoy comedy too. We like, you know, there's characters in the hood too. And so that's where the initial concept came from, because it was like, Boys in the Hood and Menace, and, everything was a little bit darker that would, portray, LA. And so we were like, yeah, we got to do some fun shit. And so that's what we set out to do. And then the concept came together with like the vibe of Cheech and Chong meets 3 O'Clock High, the after school special back in the day when the bully was doing like what's the dude ass at 3 o'clock after school, and we took the vibe of that, of it ticking in that way and moving and like that, and created a whole project, and that was relatable by characters that people can relate to anywhere in the world. Everybody know a Debo, everybody know a Felicia, everybody know a Ezel, everybody a Craig and a Smokey and a Big Worm, and on down. Everybody know a Red. Everybody know a Red too.
Wow. Who came up with Debo? Who wrote that character?
Me and Q both. We were like, we want to have a bully in there, and so we that was the character that was ultimately developed, which was just a combination of a lot of ideas of what motherfuckers do in the hood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Niggas in the hood be doing everything, snatching niggas' chains, whooping niggas' asses, breaking in houses, doing just the normal shit. And that's why I feel it's so relatable. It's because it's not special in a way of no one's heard of it. I think the fact that everyone's heard of it is what makes it special. Everybody can relate to it and see, that I know somebody like that, or I read something like that happen in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you guys were not experienced screenwriters. How tough was it writing that screen?
It was the easiest script ever to write. Cube and I had this idea, and but we didn't know about writing the screenplay. And then Cube called John Singleton and asked him if he would come give us kind of some pointers on how to do it. John pulled up the street knowledge right there, came in, and let me see y'all laptops. And he put a script writing program on our laptops. And,
wow.
And then taught us how to break down the 3-act scenarios and the whole basic concept. He spent about 2 or 3 days back and forth with us, giving us the whole get down, man, like the basics of screenwriting. And we were just crazy enough to feel like, well, shit, we could do it.
Wow.
So I got to give all the love and respect in the world to John Singleton, rest in peace.
Wow.
That brother, he showed us the way right there. He showed us the way.
Wow.
And that was the first time I had a chance to score stuff and music in a film, was Boys in the Hood. So it's a lot of love and respect to John.
Yeah, well, the music in that really makes it special because, when you heard it through the grapevine, just do-do, do-do, you know what I mean? And the way it's timed and placed at a certain scene, it just makes it that more special.
I mean, that film was made by cats that understood the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
They understood LA. They understood the vibe. You know what I mean? Like the funk and the era and the vibe and the whole thing together. It really is, it says West Coast, what the West Coast is, and be able to tell that through film is a special thing. Big props to even, what's going on with Snowfall. Even though John is no longer here, they're still just doing a great job. But he's forward.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when you get punched by Debo, how did they get you so high in the air on that?
Oh, we had a trampoline out there. I just jumped off the trampoline, and I did my own stunts too. Thank you.
You fell on the floor?
I did it was some mats down there, and then for the close up, I fell back on my back on the floor. It looks like, it was more than it was, but yeah, I did all my own stunts, man. Fuck Tom Cruise.
So, now, they won't free Friday. Warner Brothers has it locked up. I've seen Cube talk about it. I've seen you talk about it. What was that? What's going on? Just the one
it's a motherfucker over there named Toby Emmerich. The executive just kind of you know, line, Warner Brothers, whatever, same thing, whatever. And I think my dealings haven't been with him so much. It's been Q's dealings with him. But Cube and I had a really, really good last Friday script to go before John Witherspoon passed away. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
And and it was a really good role for John. I wanted to see that film get made. He deserved it. We all did. And they dragged their feet, you know, with getting it done and had script notes that, you know, were not, you know, I don't even believe, you know, I won't even get into that. But the point is they didn't move in a timely fashion. We lost John Witherspoon. And then, and that really heated the situation up. I mean, we was ready to go. Q was pissed off, you know, and so was I and everybody else involved, and all the fans too. They want to see it. And so, you know, we tried to, you know, figure out a way that maybe we can go in and rework the script, you know, and move forward. And then, you know, and then we lose Tiny. So it's like, you know, we have a path forward with something that we'd like to do with it as a franchise. You see that they do this with all of their films and what they do, and they're able to serve their communities and whatnot. But I just feel like they're robbing the community of its happiness with stuff like that.
So even with the passing of John and Tiny, you could still make another one?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think we're gonna have to put some heat on them then, you know, as a community. So, you know.
I mean, you know, it's only right, man. I don't see why they wouldn't at least get out the way now. You know what I'm saying? Just get out the way now. You know, I think that'd be the best thing to do for Warner Brothers and allow it to be made. And I think that would be respectful, you know, but it's their call, you know what I'm saying? They're in charge. It's their call. But that leads me to say we should be thinking more independently as a people.
Sure.
And, and that way we don't always have to end up
depend on them. Yeah.
Working for someone else on things that we invent. Fuck.
True. I hear that, brother. I hear that. Well, let's talk about some recent times. I know you're working video games. You're big on GTA. You were telling me that you did some packs recently with Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine on there. Tell me about that, please.
Oh, well, you saw the first release out there. I can't talk about that too much, or somebody you know, I might get 5 stars on me and might come looking for me. You know,
oh, wow.
I don't want to get wasted. I got to use GTA talk to talk my way out of this one. No, I can't really talk about it much, but everybody knows about the first leak that we put out there that came out right at Christmas 2020, December, where Dr. Dre, Jimmy Iovine, and myself appear in the game. And that was just a little hint of things to come. And I would just say it's some really cool
stuff. So we
got
to just stay tuned for that then. All right. I can dig that. All right. You know, I know it's getting late in the day, so we'll just wrap it up with Mount Rushmore.
But I gotta say, I gotta say, before we get there though, before we get out of the video games, I love to see more and more people of color, you know, getting into the video games. Black people, Hispanic, and us getting our opportunities in the video game arena. And I really got to give it to Rockstar by being able to have lead characters and stuff, like being able to give me the opportunity to put my homeboy Solo as the lead character and one of the lead characters in Grand Theft Auto. And even before that, one of my homeboys, Young May, I put him in there as CJ in San Andreas way back in the days. I did that with CJ also. And I really feel, you know, honored to be able to work with a company that allows the culture to be able to be, you know, to also be depicted, you know, not just, you know, in ways of, oh, this is this and this is that, because, you know, GTA, people think it's just a game about stealing cars or buying it. When it's a story, it's like a film, and they're allowing us to tell really good stories with characters and things. I feel, you know, really stand out, and then being inclusive of things, and that when they come, you know, to the community, come to the community, and they go around and meet people. I took them to every neighborhood in LA when we did San Andreas and Psi. They met dudes that they'd never come in contact with and stuff, and had a good time doing it, just as everyday people. And so I give a lot of respect and love to Rockstar Games for being one of the real companies that I feel like, kind of put their money where their mouth is, and they step up and try to make quality content instead of just trying to make like bull crap and just use people. They constantly license all this music. No game puts the amount of music in it that Rockstar does, and they touch all communities. And every song in that game, from Eddie Murphy Party All the Time, all the way over to, Corrupt and Dead. Yeah. Those records stream, they sell more, they stream more, they become relevant to younger generations and future generations to come, and everything. Like it's a lot that goes into video gaming. I look at it as something between film and music and reality in a way, and it's nothing like it. So I think that hip hop has grown in the world over these years, and we deserve to be wherever hip hop is, and our Rockstar is allowing that, and I respect them for that.
For sure. All right, before we get into Mount Rushmore,
and I gotta say, from the music point of view too, they dope as hell. Nobody gets down like that with the way that they put those ripped in their original songs and stuff that they work with, and stuff like Freddie Gibbs and J Rock and I mean, Nipsey Hussle, check me out. The first time the world heard that record, I put that record in a Grand Theft Auto game. I think they really, really allow it to go down. So much respect. All right, my bad.
No, not a problem at all. My man Shad Reed, who couldn't join us today, he wanted me to ask you about working with the late George Wallace.
George Wallace ain't late.
I'm sorry, not late. No. Yeah, you're right. My apologies. What was it like working with George Wallace?
Man, I love that nigga, man. George Wallace, first of all, is one of the OGs. He's a legend. He's one of the OGs, and he's one of the gems in our community that I feel don't get, his just dues. And as you can see, I'm big on trying to give people their props. You know what I'm saying? That's just something I feel like is a passion of mine. And so George, I became a big fan of George when I was young. I remember watching like some comedy special one night when he was on there with a bunch of other comedians, and it was a competition or something. They were telling jokes to see who could win with the funniest joke. And I remember that nigga said, I was up late night. I was watching a commercial. They had some stuff where if you buy it and you rub it, it's like come in a little tube. So you squeeze them in your hands, rub it together, and you rub it on your penis. And then about 20 minutes later, it makes your penis bigger. And he said, I was just about to order it until I thought, wait a minute, wouldn't it make your hands bigger? And I fell the fuck out. I was like, damn. And I remember I fell the hell out. I was like, what the hell is wrong with this nigga? And I just loved him as a comedian, followed up since then. And then when I had a chance to make film, I said, I'm definitely calling George Wallace. So I have not made a film that George Wallace has not made an appearance in for that reason.
Wow.
Every film that I've done, like not Friday, but any film that I've done personally, my films that I've wrote and directed, which include 3 Strikes, The Wash, and The Grow House, he's made an appearance in every film I've done.
That's dope, man. That's dope. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and let you finish. Let's talk about the Mount Rushmore project. Project. I understand you're producing on that album. You're back in the producing game again. So tell me what you're working on.
You know what? Producing is something that is just in my heart. DJing and producing, I never stop doing. I still love doing like Cinespia and DJing to certain things that come around that time of year and stuff. And I do it for the charities that I work along with, like the California Innocence Project and the Make-A-Wish Foundation. But that being said, I enjoy also, just doing music. Sometimes I do it just for the hell of it because, I like to make it. Doesn't mean it's coming out or that I'm looking for somebody to spit on it. It's just my stuff that I just like doing. And so every here and there, like I did Ain't No Haters on Q's last album with he and Too Short. I do like a few songs here and there. You know what I mean? And so if I haven't been, in the producer game, but then on this project, it was sort of like, good day. Cube called me and said, hey, I got an idea. Would you do this with me? And I said, tell me about it. He told me about it without me, giving it up too soon. And I said, oh, that's dope. That's super dope. But only I said, I need Fred Rex for this. So I brought Fred Rex in with me. And we, oh man,
Wow.
Look forward to it, man. It's badass, and I think it reflects the times, as I said, and then it's also a throwback, like we talked about. So I think we got some good stuff going. The whole album's got some really good heat on there, and it's some good directions on there. I think people are gonna really, really appreciate it.
Nice. Wow. So you and Fred Reck, that's got to be dope. That's I can't wait to hear it.
That's one of my best compadres, man. Fred Reck. Me and Fred Reck be on the video game together. We in the same clan, NWH, niggas with heat. You know what I'm saying? And we running around in the game. We always been me, him, Superfly, rest in peace. Nate Dogg was in the clan. We always had our own clan and stuff on the game.
Wow.
But on some real shit though, I mean, Fred is just a very special producer, and I'm looking to bring him in to possibly work with us with Rockstar and stuff too, man. His talents are just endless, man.
Nice. Well, brother, I mean, I really want to do this interview to not just to catch up on what you're doing, but I just want to give you your flowers, man. And give you respect and honor your career and everything you've done. You know what I mean? And just let you know that you're appreciated. Yeah, you're a legend. And man, I just want you to know that you're appreciated, bro.
Man, thank you, man. I appreciate that, bro. And just for the record, this is not the first time you've given me my flowers, man. And I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you. And that's why I'm here, man. Because as I said, I don't really be that interested in interviews. But when you call me, bro, we're gonna figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
For sure,
it is
man.
what it is.
Brother, can I get a drop for WestCoastStyles.com, please?
Yep. What up, y'all? It's your boy DJ Pooh on WestCoastStyles.com. Act like you know.
For sure.
Can I do another one too?
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Oh, Pop's tripping, man. He wants y'all to tune in to WestCoastStyles.com. I wouldn't trip.
That's my mic, bro.
I just had you.
Yeah. My grandmama gave me that thing. For sure, but I thank you so much, bro. And man, whatever you're doing, we're gonna support. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go about your day,
bro. Let me know. Yeah, let me know when anything you need from me, bro. Promote this, that, the other, whatever. You don't have to have nothing to do with me, bro. I just respect what you're doing. So appreciate it.
All right, brother. Thank you, and have a wonderful day, bro. All right.
You too. Yep.
Peace.
All right.